Welcome to Let's Listen, a video podcast in which we have conversations with IBMers about their own disabilities and their careers within IBM. I'm Andrew Williams, your host today from IBM, and I am interviewing Rajesh Mehta from my IBM Let's Listen studio. Rajesh, who joined IBM India in 2005, currently works in Mumbai, India, and will be sharing with us more information about his day-to-day work and point of view. So welcome, Rajesh.
Thank you so very much, Andrew, for having me once again here. So thank you.
It's a thrill. And this is going to be the third and final part of a three-part series that we're having a discussion with Rajesh. And this session, we're going to focus on Rajesh's point of view on disability and his own unique perspective and his inspirations. So let's get into the first question. I got to make it topical. In Australia today, we had a major telecommunications outage, causing major disruption across Australia. Can you provide your point of view of today's technology dependency?
Okay, so first and foremost, it's sad to hear that you had such a, kind of intensive outage. Um, you know, I think now there are two sides of coins, and everything has advantage as well as disadvantage. Technology dependency is definitely, is good. But at times, we also need to sometime live without a technology and see that how we could be resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in my views, I know that there were so many people who must have got suffered because of this telco outages, and as you were probably mentioning, I was just imagining if someone wants to book an appointment with the doctor, medical requirement or something, what must have happened, right? So that's where it takes me my life saying that what happened to me that day when I lost my sight.
Mm.
Was that sight is not one of the technology? Probably yes. But then, I started taking it all the more positively. And I think today, whether I could see or not able to see, frankly speaking, it doesn't matter to me, right? That's the way of looking at it. Number two, I was just while I was listening to you, Andrew, I was just thinking, what happens? Let's say if the websites are not accessible, if the product is not accessible today, uh, you may like to make your websites accessible, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's possible. But what happens to the hardware products? Look at today's refrigerators, look at today washing machine, look at today so many other products
Mm-hmm.
that I go on and on. I mean, I cannot even today think that our washing machines of the world are completely talking enabled. Refrigerators, there is not even a thinking of making those refrigerator talking enabled so that we can fix those what do you call we can explore that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's where, of course, couple of years back when I submitted my patent on how we can create the microwaves and ovens talking enable. So that's, of course, was a fantastic patent that I filed via IBM. But I think just look at those products across the world, right? And I think that's where it's good that if today this telco has brought the outage, I'm sure you will able to see definitely jump into the filing of patents and ideas so that if ever this kind of a situation happens, we are all the more prepared.
That's a fascinating point of view. I really want to drill down on the topic you raised around raising patents. How many patents have you raised, and what drives you to actually create those patents? What point of view do you bring that allows you to provide a unique solution that is patentable?
In fact, I would look at this question in a very different way. For me, patent filing is not the kind of getting those visibility or getting those commercial value or maybe, kind of a honor or something. For me, the patent is getting answer to unsolved problem of my own, right? And which might be getting, faced by not just me, but, with so many people across society. So I still remember my first patent idea was all about, the e-cooking system, right? The virtual cooking system that I submitted. Now, how did it come? We, couple of friends, we were just discussing, saying that, Rajesh, if let's say, if you do not have a help available who otherwise help you cooking the food, etc. at home, how would you manage? And that's when, kind of it actually struck my mind, saying that how I may, chop the vegetables, right? But how would I even, kind of put it on a gas or how would I able to even fry few stuff, especially me being from India, and I'm sure you would be knowing that we Indians, actually love eating various delicacy, which might be fried stuff, which might be mixed with so many spices. So that's where the whole, discussion started, and that's how the e-cooking system was my first bet.
So how many have you raised now?
Not many though, but definitely there are few. And of course, that was one. Then I did submit about the color recognizer. And then, kind of on a day-to-day basis, there are many ideas that I keep sharing with across the board, across the, kind of interested areas, because there are like, everybody today comes back saying, okay, if you being a visually impaired, how would you do this? How would you manage?
And I love that in IBM. I mean, it's all about idea and thinking beyond, and then documenting it and finding other people who can spin off your ideas and create something brand new. And I think it's a fascinating area to be in. Maybe you could share with us any valuable lesson you've learned from your life and working in IBM, and what message would you like to convey to individuals facing their own unique challenges as they go forward with their own careers in life?
As you rightly stated, thinking, conversing, and collaborating, TCC, is the biggest weapon, biggest medicine been blessed to the humankind. And today, as you rightly talked about, I would say that we as an IBMer, why our logo or why our, kind of a tagline happens to be think. I think because of this tagline called think, THINK, we have able to strive, right? Maybe because of today, Andrew, you are sitting in Australia, I'm sitting in Mumbai. Isn't it a great usage of technology and usage of collaboration that we are doing? And what are we trying to do through this conversation? We are trying to, kind of plant few new seeds, right? Which we do not know what kind of a fruit's going to get delivered, but we may enjoy tomorrow. There will be many more such conversation which may happen through impact. I mean, getting influence through our conversation, and you never know what may, come out. So I think this is the beauty of the conversation. So I think before even I pause, I would say that conversation is the biggest medicine. Dialogue is the biggest solution. And I think, that's the gift I consider given to not just to IBMer, but to humankind. But yes, considering we have such a diverse background, such a universal presence, across socio-cultural, kind of presence. I think we can actually utilize all the more.
Mm. So, Rajesh, I also know you love to challenge people to show one thing that you can't do that a person with vision can. Maybe you could share some examples that have proven this point and shifted perceptions.
Okay, fantastic. So, Andrew, thank you for asking me that question. I recall few of my um, childhood dreams that I wanted to accomplish. Example like cycling,
Mhm.
swimming, open sea swimming, and many more. So one day I actually called upon my friend saying that I want to do cycling, and that too on the busy street like Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, or maybe New York or Sydney, right? And he was
Mhm.
like, "Are you crazy being a blind? How would you do it?" And today, as I speak with you, I regularly participate, or rather, I have the club been created, and where we actually offer tandem cycling.
Yeah.
Now, tandem cycling sounds very Hollywood, uh, kind of a stuff, right? Tandem cycling is like, having two seats, two pedal, two brakes, everything too, right? So the person who could see sits on the front.
Yeah.
I, as a stroker, I sit behind, and both of us, we need to collaborate. So what happened is when we started, I'm not saying that I developed that, but we used to see those particular stuff into the film, which used to be very romanticized, but we started using that as a sports,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So many of the weekends, I do 150 kilometers cycling right from Mumbai to Pune, or
Ah,
Pune to
cool.
Mumbai, something like that. The
Yeah.
second challenge that I had was I wanted to participate into the kind of Paralympics, right? I'm a sports person too. So I wrote to Paralympic committee worldwide saying that I wish to dive. I want to do diving. And they were like, being a blind, how can you dive? Right?
Mhm.
Um, I must tell you this, Andrew. I dive every day morning. I dive from almost 25, 30 feet, right? Almost second to third floor as per the Indian standard.
Mhm.
I also have done, the sea swimming, right? The open sea swimming.
Mhm.
Now, many people do ask me that being a blind, how do you do all these sports? I said, for doing any sports, for playing any sports, sight is not important. What you need is passion.
Oh, that's really interesting, and I think we've just shown a few photos of you doing the tandem cycling as well. Um, and I'd like to ask one more question about the workplace and IBM, and
Mhm.
how you would like to change a place like IBM to be more open and embracing. We do have a very strong diversity and inclusion community and program, but I'd be interested in your point of view as well.
I think, yes, having policies are great. I mean, of course, I hardly see any biases, but I think united, to get something done. I think that's the need. I
Yes.
think each country, if you see, is doing such a wonderful stuff at a large level. I think if we all can come together, I'm sure history could be repeated. And when I said history, what I meant is there are so many historical events that IBM has set it up. And
Mm.
I only wonder when all these countries comes together, especially the diversity power, I'm sure we can actually do yet another destruction.
Mm. So, Rajesh, when you were saying that, it really resonated with me. Um, Having a policy within an organization like IBM is great, but it's about activating it and taking action. And that reminded me of something I did about 9 years ago with the neurodiversity program. We didn't have one. We had a diversity program, which was inclusive for someone who would be ADHD or autistic. But I was inspired to set up a hiring program and connected with other like-minded team members. And we set up a program to start hiring people who were neurodiverse. We did that in Lansing, then Melbourne, and now it's worldwide. And it's all about going that next step beyond policy, beyond talk, and actually doing something about it. And that's something that we've been able to achieve.
Infectious, yeah. I mean, amazing. I mean, and that's what makes us an IBM. Kind of building from each other's expertise and finally making, kind of path-breaking change. So
Yeah.
brilliant to know about this.
Yeah, but I think it also applies to many other organizations as well. I've seen other organizations who are going beyond just the policy and they're taking action. And that's what really excites me when I start talking to other companies who are acting out their diversity programs. So
see, that's what fascinates me. If you see, kind of, I agree with you that many other organizations may not be, might be doing what we are doing, but when are they doing it? Probably we did, far ago, many years ago. Right? Example, the first visually impaired person was hired by IBM way back in 1940s, if I'm not too wrong, 44 or 45 something, in terms of Dr. Michael Schuper, right? So my point is that we set the tone and the rest all follows. So that's where kind of we are the catalyst, we are the change makers, right?
Yeah.
We are not the followers.
As they say within the neurodiversity program that I support, nothing about us without us. And it's all about the individual driving change within the organization. That's what I've been saying. I think we're on the same page there, Rajesh. Unfortunately, that really brings us to the end of this series of discussions. It's been a real thrill for me to spend this time with you, and I'm sure anyone listening feels the same way. Sorry.
Pleasure is all mine, Andrew, and I must tell you this. You really brought me nostalgic moment last time. You really, kind of tried out my, kind of left brain, right brain, all possible brain. And what a fantastic talking to you. I only wish to, I would be very eagerly waiting how our listeners are finding this conversation. So if they could probably, ping back, Slack back, or, kind of write back, that would be such a wonderful motivation for them.
Oh my goodness, you're taking my job away from me. That's it. Thank you so much, Rajesh. If anyone's listening to us today, thanks for joining us, and just keep listening to everyone around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, everybody.